On today's Starting Nine, Jake and Carl interview Arizona Diamondbacks starting pitcher Zac Gallen about his filthy stuff and big league life carving up the NL West. There's huge news with the former teammate, some Little League World Series love, the hug heard around the world, and so much more to get into. Let's have a great show. Action. Welcome back to Starting Nine. It's your host, Carl. I'm joined by we'll just say new setting, new house. Is this the first time you're in the new house? We got Jake Arrieta in Austin, Texas. We will be joined later today by Zac Gallen, but I got to go back to Austin real quick. The house looks good, setup looks good, new chair.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I'm upstairs in the study, and you can see these little. If you're watching on YouTube, I got these three little baby doll sconces up here. We like some weird shit. The speakeasy vibe is kind of the trend around the house. So first time shooting up here. I've done the last 3 or 4 shows downstairs in the sauna, not in the sauna, but in the massage/sauna room. There's 15 people in the house around. It's loud downstairs, so I figured I'd set up here, have a quiet show. But I do think that this will probably be my primary setting for the future. I might move to the couch that's over here to my left, which looks very, very comfortable. Haven't even sat on it yet. So it's still a work in progress, but I like where I'm at. And this chair is very, very comfortable. The microphone fits very nicely in between the legs. The desk is a nice height. So, and I'm sidetracked here. A little ADD, but a little thought. People in Texas say height. You notice that? Or do people in the Midwest say height instead of height? I have no idea. I stopped saying height like 4 or 5 years ago, and I didn't even know I was doing it. I thought I was saying the word correctly, and somebody pointed it out, called me out. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I feel like an idiot for saying that. It's height. It's a hard T at the end. It's not a TH. But for whatever reason, people in the South like to say height. Yeah, so pay attention to that. When you're around people and they're saying that word, pay attention to it, because I guarantee you a lot of people will say it the wrong way. It's one of those weird things.
If I went to a music festival and consumed like some gummies of sorts or whatever, or you know the path I'm going down without being expressly clear, because I want to respect the youngsters listening to the show, but that's the type of conversation I find myself having, is just talking about a word like height. Like, how did they get to the GH? Why not a TE? Why did they get so fancy? There was a period. Everything was so HEIGHT.
I guess it's a GHT.
GHT.
G or GTH.
Height. No.
Height.
It ends in T.
It ends in T, but when people are saying it the wrong way. So let's see. The wrong spelling would be
Okay, I got it right here.
I can't even fucking spell the right word.
Height. Altitude, elevation, mean vertical distance between. I don't need the definition. Where does it originate from? First known use of height before the 12th century in the meaning as defined traditionally. So shout out to height. That's a word that hasn't really changed or pivoted. It's been true to itself since introduction. Now, pronunciation may vary from region to region, but...
Pronunciation may vary, but it's wrong. They're saying height. I don't know, man. It's just weird. It's weird. It's a Southern thing. Maybe there's just people down here aren't as not as articulate, or maybe just don't pay attention to it. I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of words that people mispronounce, and I used to correct people a lot more, but I realized that I do a lot of stupid shit, so I stopped that. So Christina Lackey the other day, she was over at the house helping me organize bottles of wine in the cellar, and she was saying, she was trying to say expedition or exhibition games, because they were in the Bahamas and there was a college team playing some exhibition games, and she kept saying expedition, and I didn't have the heart to tell her that it's exhibition, but after the conversation, I let her know that, and she handled it well.
Did she? Did you put her down soft, or were you
She is.
I got bad news?
No, I think she's the only person that I correct. on a consistent basis because you ever played this game called Bananagrams?
Let me repeat something from our first episode. You guys have matching tattoos and are very close. So if you missed our first episode or something, like you and Lackey's wife are very close. You're
No, she doesn't. She doesn't have a tattoo. I have her name on my right foot.
Okay. There's a connection there where you guys are like actually good
She's
friends.
like my
Just,
sister.
like, randomly.
Yes. I love her to death. And I have one of my other best girlfriends. Her name's Carly. Her name's on my left foot. And the reason, well, not the only reason I got Christina's name on my right foot, she was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you have Carly's name on your foot. Like, when are you gonna do my name on your other foot? Like, kind of joking but serious. So we're in New Orleans. I think I told the story in our first episode, but in New Orleans with some friends. It's like 3:30 in the morning, and we're wandering around the streets looking for a tattoo shop. I'm like, this is the night to do it. So finally got her name on my right foot. Put on my shoes a little prematurely, so it's partially rubbed off. So I'm gonna have to retouch it up when the time comes. So, but yes, her name's on my foot.
And you'll be prepared for that.
I'm ready whenever. It might happen today. So you have definitely played Bananagrams. There it is right there. That's a weathered bag.
I'm holding this up for YouTube.
If you can't see it, Bananagrams is like a Scrabble game. Oh, you use it as a pin case.
Yeah, because we played Bananagrams in the clubhouse all the time. This was my game. It was a Bananagrams guy in college.
So you played it well before me. I was introduced to it maybe 2 years ago. Great game. Describe the game for the people listening, for our listeners.
It's kind of like Scrabble without a board, where you draw. And
it's time,
and you get scored based on. I think it's like, or you have to get rid of your letters.
Right.
It's a good game because like you don't need a board. You can't play it on a bus because you need a flat surface. But I would say for rain delay games that don't involve like physical pain or anything, it's up there. It's tier 1 for me.
And the reason I brought it up is because Christina always wins Bananagrams. Her record is she wins, I would say 95% of the games. I shit you not. And I don't understand it because of how many times she mispronounces words. It's crazy. So every time she'll mispronounce something or say the wrong word, we'll say Bananagrams. Just kind of fuck with her. Yeah, it's truly amazing. But yeah, she's the best player I've ever seen.
That's a good little inside bit there. Thank you for sharing that. That's like a Bananagrams.
It's a good one. Yeah, so next time you're around, I'm sure she'll mispronounce a word and just throw Bananagrams at her.
I got a Bananagram guy I played with. Shout out Wes Braun, teammate in college, Fighting Illini. He would always beat us, and that's because he did the New York Times crossword puzzle. He was like a guy in the clubhouse who would sit with like his legs crossed. Very mature, seasoned guy. Was an all-conference closer. Walked on. I love a walk-on, obviously. Good kid from Deerfield. Shout out Wes Braun, one of the most diehard baseball fans I know. So it's funny you bring up Bananagrams because I'm kind of like going right now. It's not like I'm sitting here thinking about Wes Braun. And the reason I'm going to make this connection, I've been watching so much Vin Scully stuff in interviews and documentaries and stuff lately, just like him sitting there and talking. And Vin Scully has this great comment where he's like, people think I have this amazing memory. And he's like, I honestly don't have a great memory. I just like watching the game, and when I see stuff, it will trigger memory. So I'll think of stuff I haven't thought about in 40 years, but I'll see it play, and it brings that out of me. And he's like, that's what I love about the game. And I think about how often you're like, I don't remember shit, and then you see something in the game, and it's like, dude, I haven't told this story in 10 years.
Yeah, well, he's special. He was so special in that regard, too, because he was around the game for, he was involved in broadcasting and radio for 67 years and around the game for more years than that. But it's a skill, and there's an art to that. Even though, sometimes stories will pop into your head, to be able to do it like in the fashion that he was able to do it and articulate it the way he did was truly special. And, I was doing the same thing and watching kind of his send-off, like his last game that he did. And it almost like brings a tear to your eye, like hearing him talk about it that way. But it was uplifting in a sense, right? He's like, the sun will come out, the next day and rest assured there will be Dodger baseball. It's like, everybody's sad to see him go, but it's like, hey guys, don't worry. Like, Dodger baseball will still be there. Everything will be fine.
Yes. And so it's beautifully said, Jake. And to kind of like build off that, we've been working. The reason I'm watching this stuff too is we're working and trying to put together a Vin Scully memorial episode, not just like throw some, like we're going to try and have as many, just some good quality guests that can speak to working with him and stuff and pay good tribute. So we're working on that. Although that's bad etiquette. I don't like teasing stuff that isn't complete, but I just did. So let's not blow that too hard.
Well, and I'm looking at just kind of scrolling through a feed, and Justin Turner is wearing this hat. I don't know if you've seen it. It's during the Vin Scully ceremony. It's a microphone with wings on it. Have you seen this hat?
Mm-mm.
Here, let's see.
Okay.
If I can show it to you.
Subscribe to YouTube while Jake's showing this to me. Oh, wow.
I mean,
that's a hat.
We need to get these hats. So let's look into that. Let's try and find these hats. That's
Speaking
a beautiful hat.
Speaking of merchandise, we got to get the sleeveless tees in the store.
Yeah.
They were like, they don't sell that well. I'm like, okay, sure. Well,
sleeveless tees? Come on. Of course they sell well.
Our merch team's outstanding.
And it's incentive to, to have a little more arm meat and enhance the tries and the buys and shave the triceps. That's a big problem for me. You don't have near as much body hair as I do, so you're okay. I was talking about myself.
My back wax.
Yeah, are you still doing that regularly?
It's starting to come back a little bit. I got out of the shower today and just was so sweaty, and it's 71 degrees here. It's pathetic. I like sweat through my t-shirt.
There's a cure for that. You need to finish the shower with like a minute of cold. It's hard to do. Most people don't like it. It's good for you though. It wakes you up, gets the nervous system going. You got to go for it. You got to do things that make you uncomfortable.
There was a whole year I was so poor that I consciously did not pay the gas bill. And about 6 weeks before I moved out, they just turned the gas off. And I had a thing with utilities. I was like, gas, you can get around gas. I had an experience when I was 23 living with a guy where we didn't pay gas, and we didn't turn it on, and it just left on, and we got done with the lease. We're like, dude, that was sweet. We didn't have to pay gas. So here I am, 27 years old, broke, like just really struggling. And I don't turn on the gas. 6 weeks left on the lease. They turn the gas off. No stove, nothing. And I call them. I'm like, hey, you guys turn the gas off. They're like, yeah, you haven't paid the bill. I'm like, oh, I'm a new tenant. No, they weren't buying that. They're like, you got to pay the bill for us to turn the gas back on. And I was like, ooh, little Mexican standoff here, guys. I don't think that's going to happen. And
did you ever have free cable?
My dad knew a guy when we were kids, and we got Showtime and Cinemax, and then we were just sitting down there watching softcore, and they were like, that's enough Cinemax.
We had routed cable. God, it must have been my first year of college. So one of my teammates somehow knew how to get something going, or he was a local guy, had a friend that could kind of hook up the line for us, and we had 15, 20 extra channels. I mean, look, is the cable company really losing much money there? I don't think so. Everything's fine.
No, I mean, having a guy who can work around something. I remember my college house flooded, and it was a house my family owns, at Illinois on campus, and we were down there in the wintertime, and the basement had flooded because snow had melted so much. So we had called a local plumber to come in and take a look at it. Well, my uncle is a highly skilled tradesman in Chicago, and pipe fitter guy and contractor. And when my family bought the house, he went down there and did some work on it. Plumber comes upstairs. He's like, hey, man, we got big issue with this house. We're like, what's going on? And he's like, this is so out of compliance. It was a corner house. And he was like, you guys are breaking every single environmental law and all this stuff. Like, what is going on? My uncle fucking routed our pipes into the city pipes. So we just got free water. He was like, we're not paying for fucking water. You get a corner house, you should never be paying for water if you got a house on the corner. And he's tapping into the city water, and the plumber's like, you guys should probably turn that off before you get
turn it off because
trouble for this shit.
Oh, well, how would they?
He was like, you need to get reconnected to something. I'm not a plumber. I just know that the plumber was looking at us like we had just I had just committed murder.
And only a corner house has the opportunity.
He was saying the way it's structured, the way the the piping works. Like you have a
It's
better
just
opportunity
easy to connect
get
it that way.
He was like, dude, it was too good of an opportunity. It's like they wanted me to take the water.
Yeah, well, I guess, if you have those types of skills, you might as well use it. If you're going to cut some corners every once in a while, it's okay. There's worse things in the world than getting some free water.
Yeah. And I shout out to that Uncle Timmy because he looks at me, he's like, you podcasts? Huh? He's driving a fucking truck like.
Well, now he's listening. Well, if he's a truck driver, he's listening.
He's a cool dude. Shout out Timmy, legend. All right, we got some great baseball stuff. I like when we start the pre-show. We're like, hey, let's bullshit for a little bit, and then it's like keep it rolling. I'm going to the Field of Dreams game tomorrow. Well, I guess this airs today, Thursday, and I'm curious, what is the weirdest venue at the highest level that you played at? So maybe if you didn't at MLB, was there something maybe on Team USA where you were playing with like a chain link fence in Cuba?
Oh yeah, I mean, we played in the what was it? That Little League World Series game that we played against the Mets at the minor league field. But that wasn't that weird. Cuba was probably the weirdest. 2006 for the FISU World Cup. They had a stadium there, and the mound was just like granulated dirt with no clay. So after the first pitch, there was a hole about 6 inches deep. All of the entire stadium was wood. I've never seen anything like that. There was no metal like posts or anything anywhere. From left field foul pole to right field foul pole, the stands they look like the bleachers at Wrigley Field, but they went up and back about like 60 rows, all the way around. Just a very, very strange venue. In the area that we practiced, there's no bathrooms, there's no like toilets. You just walk around the dugout, and there's this concrete like cinder block room, and you walk in, and there's just piles of shit everywhere. It was awful.
Yeah.
But you gotta go. No L screens. So what we did is we just piled up equipment bags as high as we could, and then our poor like pitching coach or one of our coaches would just throw a pitch and just duck behind the equipment bags, just hoping for the best. So Cuba was a strange venue. Beijing was very nice. So and nothing strange there other than the thick smog that you had to deal with and try and get your breathing patterns down before we started playing our games.
That's a real thing in China? Like for athletes, we got to watch out for the smog? Well,
we got off. So what we heard is that they shut down about 40 to 50% of the industry leading up to the Olympics so it would clear up the air quality. And when we got off of the plane and kind of onto the buses, we're looking up in the sky, and you can see the sun, but it's just like this faint, like orangish yellow dot in the sky. And then we pull up, you pull up the weather app on your phone, and it says just, clear skies for 2 weeks, sunny and clear skies. And it looked like, it was as cloudy and as overcast as you could possibly imagine. Just very, very, very poor air quality. It's just, isn't it crazy that's how it is over there just about every day?
Yeah, and that we're all human beings.
Yeah, we're all humans. We live on the same planet, but certain regions could be so much different than another. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have a lot in common. We should say that. I want to recognize that. People, humanity, all of us.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, we're not as different. We're not as different as we think. We might sound different and speak different languages, but at the end of the day, we have all the same emotions, a lot of the same wants and desires, and I think that everybody wants to be good people. I mean, there are bad people out there, but no matter where you go, those people exist everywhere.
So, speaking of, I don't know, we'll just say, Field of Dreams game, how am I getting out there? Let's think Gametime for a second. We love Gametime on this show. Gametime is the exclusive ticketing app of Barstool Sports. You guys have heard me talk about Gametime a lot, so it should be no surprise if I repeat that they are quite literally the best at getting you the lowest price at the last minute. I've been using Gametime like crazy. You guys, if you follow me on any social media, you know I'm still going to my Cubs game, sitting in section 300, row 1, wherever I can, and I'm getting those tickets on Gametime because the tickets are so cheap. And the nice thing is on the map, you can like pick out the row and you see so much information about your seat. I don't know if this isn't part of the ad read at all. I'm just saying I have experiences with other apps where it is difficult to know until you get the details of the ticket. Gametime is going to let you know exactly where you're sitting. Biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. And we're giving $20 off your first purchase. All you got to do is download the Gametime app, go to the account tab to create a login, and redeem code STARTING9 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Gametime. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. With the playoff chases coming up and everything, guys, I mean, get off your butt cheeks. Go use Gametime. I might be using Gametime to go to the Little League World Series. I'm not sure. I was following the action recently. I wanted to ask you about this. Now that you know, we talk a lot about unwritten rules of baseball and you know, how to carry yourself. You've educated me thoroughly on, like, you know, the drilling guys and that culture, learning more about that. So here's something, Little League World Series, where a kid from Oklahoma got hit in the head. And he's on the ground, and he goes to first base, and then he leaves first base to give the pitcher a hug.
Yeah.
I want to caveat this, just so you know, I do a show with, like, the guys in Chicago, and we talked about this loosely, and I do have multiple jokes out there. So if you see jokes from me about this, I don't want to piss you off because I know that, dude, I know that you're going to be like, this is good shit because the kid's got to learn sportsmanship. Yeah. But, like, I might have been a little hard on it. In fairness, though,
I can see why you would want to be hard on it. Sure, it seems like a soft moment, and you don't expect to see that kind of stuff in sports. But they're 11, they're 12 years old, so it's okay at that level. Look, the kid was obviously shaken up on the mound. He didn't mean to hit the kid in the head. It didn't look great. It looked like, you know, it might have grazed off the helmet, but it seemed like it definitely caught some of his cheek or the side of his face. So, and stuff like that has, you know, ruined a guy's pitching career before, where they literally get that. They get the yips, or where they cannot physically throw strikes anymore. And when something like say that kid was hurt and he had to, you know, go to the hospital and have surgery, you know, that kid might, obviously he would have to live with that for the rest of his life, and maybe he couldn't pitch again. I mean, that's a legitimate thing. So, you know, I mean, in Little League, the kid, he came out there, he gave him a hug, he told him he's fine, and he felt bad. So, I don't know. It's a cute thing in Little League. I mean, you're not gonna see that anywhere else. But look, the kid showed good sportsmanship and said, "Hey, man, everything's fine. Like, I know you feel bad that you hit me in the head, but I'm good, and let's move on."
Also, the kid who got drilled in the head, he's big. He's a good-looking ball player. I'm sure he's got a projectable future. So, you know, I just want to say something nice about him. Like, I bet he's going to have a big career. No, you're right. It's a cute moment. The cameras, too, have to be like, could you imagine playing on ESPN 11, 12 years old?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So, we were a game or so from the Little League World Series. We got no hit by Team Florida, I believe it was. We thought we were really good, which we were, but there's always somebody better out there. Yeah, and look, it's okay to make a joke about it, which I'm sure you guys did, because it's funny. It is kind of funny. But if that kid sees you do that, you know, maybe he, I don't know, he's 12. He's 12.
Yeah,
so take it easy on the 12-year-old. You asshole.
I did call myself an asshole in the process, too. All right, the Little League World Series 2, I went to high school with a kid who dropped a fly ball to go to the Little League World Series.
Oh, and so your team lost?
It wasn't my team. It was the kids who grew up by Midway Airport, which are like the really tough kids. Like
he dropped
kids.
it and they didn't go?
I'll say his name, Neil Lynch, and Frank
Fuck,
Olivo was
Neil.
on the team, and Ryan White, and some good midway boys, and they were like sixth inning, whatever it was, and Neil dropped the ball in center field. Okay, so that was in like fifth grade or whatever. Dude, we're seniors in high school on the baseball team together. Like, hey, Lynchy, remember that? Like, I mean,
That it's
never
funny now.
left him.
You can joke with him now because he's a grown man. But man, that's something that he probably still has nightmares about.
I haven't talked to Neil Lynch in like 20 years, by the way. This gets back to him. Hope you're doing well, buddy. This is a good little we're on like a little shout out roll.
Hope he's still trucking because he maybe not after that disaster.
Yeah, I hope he's a funny guy. Funny guy.
Here, real quick, about the Little League World Series, and this is no knock on those kids. I played in Little League where there was no leadoffs until you're 13, but now baseball is so much more advanced and so much further ahead of that. Like this will be his third year, like with leadoffs and pickoffs and throwing runners out and all that stuff. These kids they're gonna be behind. They're gonna be behind these kids that have been doing this for 2-3 years. We didn't have that when I was 11 and 12. It was like Little League and that was it. So we entertained the idea of maybe putting like this all-star team together and just going and beating the shit out of everybody. But it actually takes kids a step back. You know, your foot's on first base and you can't run until the ball crosses home plate. I don't really like it. It's not for me. But you know, these kids are doing it and they're having a great time and it's good memories for them. But hey, they're going to be a tick behind when they get to big boy baseball next year.
Yep, bigger barrels, all that stuff.
All that.
But
It is what it is.
Williamsport's nice, though. I mean, that's it. But if you
Williamsport,
don't get there,
yes.
it's like, that's a trade-off.
Yes, Williamsport is very, very sick. So, but you know, I'm not a big fan of it anymore, if I'm being honest.
Do you think any of these kids will play with a phone in their pocket? I don't know if you saw this, but Rodolfo Castro plays for the Pirates. And I should say that, too, like standings-wise and where we're at the league and all this stuff, these are the stories that really pique my interest because I'm interested to know, like, that has to be the biggest, like, no, not like the biggest no-no, but that guy has to feel like an idiot.
It's a huge no-no. Look, if you, like, run up into the clubhouse and you have to check your phone, you're like, you got to check in with your family if something's going on, fine. But you never take your phone down the tunnel to the dugout. All that stays in the clubhouse. And especially, you know, somebody like this guy, I don't even know what his name is, but what are you doing? Was he a pinch runner or did he hit with his phone in his pocket? Let's figure that out. But I'll tell you this. I'll say that it's not funny at all. I know it's kind of a joke, and I saw like the announcers kind of joking around with it, and the umpire like pointed at the ground like, "Hey, your fucking phone just fell out of your pocket." But as a veteran player, I mean, one of the veteran guys over there needs to, and I'm sure he needs to have a conversation with that kid like, what the fuck are you doing? Like you don't bring your phone out here. And I know he didn't mean to do it. Probably he forgot he had it in there. But it's a terrible look. It's a terrible look to have your phone on you while you're in the dugout or on the field. I've never seen that happen.
What about like, have you ever gotten on the mound and you're like, you forgot to put on your sliders or like you know, you're wearing two different socks or something?
Well, I pitched a game in Milwaukee where I wore these stirrups. They weren't even stirrups. They were white socks with like a blue stripe all up the side. And for whatever reason, my socks weren't there that I typically wear. So I'm like, look, these are the most hideous socks you could wear on a baseball field. So I'm going to wear my pants up. And you can probably find it, but they were awful. You've never seen worse looking socks in your entire life. And I asked Otis, our clubby, like, why do we even have these in the trunk? Nobody would ever wear these. Let's get these out. By the way, that's my third F-bomb. Let's get these out of the trunk, and can we get some real socks, please? So I said, you know what, I'm going to have fun with it. I wore my pants up, which I never really did, and wore the socks. But no, I never forgot any underwear, anything like that. Always have my
No
stuff.
cup, or you're not a cup guy?
I didn't like a cup. It always pinched like in between like my adductor, my upper thigh, and my junk. I just didn't like it. When I would bring my leg up, it would kind of give me a slight pinch. So I stopped wearing it, like, I'd say right after college.
Mm-hmm. What percentage of position players in big leagues wear a cup, you think? Like, is it weird if I'm a shortstop and I'm not wearing one?
Most do. As a pitcher, you don't want the comebacker to hit you in the face. I did see a very traumatic shot to the nuts, and this was actually when we were playing in that Little League World Series game. Jose Alvarez took a comebacker right to the ball bag and had to have emergency surgery like 2 or 3 hours later. His fucking nut exploded. So he had to have surgery. I was very, very sorry that he had to go through that. I can't imagine the pain.
And
Can you imagine the pain?
The trauma centers in rural Pennsylvania can't be very high quality.
He's doing fine. Yeah, now he's still alive. He made it through. But I'm trying to avoid getting hit in the face. That's my concern. Just not in the face. I never took a shot in the nuts. The closest I came was in a rehab start, 2014. I think it was the first pitch of the game. I took one right off the upper thigh, and then the second guy hit a 2-run homer, and I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm done. Get me out of here.
Oh, I shouldn't even face that guy. My thigh was so sore. That was a bad pitch because the thigh.
I wouldn't make that excuse.
Okay, speaking of ball bags, I'll give out an award. I want to give Bag of the Week to a former teammate of yours, Jason Heyward. I want to talk about him for a second because the Cubs announced recently in a very bizarrely timed announcement that Jason Heyward's on the IL for the remainder of the season and that he will not be part of the Cubs next year. It's his last year on his contract last year. I'm giving Jason Heyward the Bag of the Year or the Bag of the Week award because in light of this, in light of the news, it is one of the easiest takes in Chicago sports history to sit and trash like Jason Heyward as a Cub and all this stuff. And the percentage of people that are talking about him as a guy, the point I want to make is numbers. If you look at his numbers and you consider the fact that everybody speaks positively about this guy, and from my understanding as an outsider, is quite possibly considered like the best teammate anybody's ever had. And as this news is coming out and Cubs fans are talking about it, it is crazy to think how positive everybody has to say about Jason Heyward. So I guess my thing is, like, I would be interested to know from your end, like, he's got to be – and it's so crazy and tough. It's been tough to watch. It's like a sad – whatever. It's like,
sure,
I don't know. It's kind of –
I mean, look, Heyward is one of the all-time guys, one of the all-time human beings that's played the game that I've ever been around, that had the pleasure of playing with and against. I mean, honestly, it just boils down to this, man. Like, we can't all be great forever. And I mentioned that to you before the show, and it's just the truth. Like, he's had an amazing career, and you know, his offensive numbers haven't been what he's wanted or what the Cubs wanted from him. And it is what it is. You know, the Cubs decided to do what they did when they did, which to me doesn't make sense. And look, I mean, yesterday is a guy's birthday, I believe. So just have a little bit more feel than that from a guy who did as much as he did for you and your organization. And if it wasn't for him, we probably don't win that World Series. And I think that most people in Chicago understand that. Most people around baseball get that. Not everybody understands who he is as a person. And it makes sense to me that baseball fans don't necessarily care about that, which is totally fine. And people are gonna rip on him and rip on me. I got an immense amount of trash talk towards, which is fine. It's part of the job description. I totally understand it. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be elite forever, and that's why everybody retires at some point. I know that Jason is happy with what he's accomplished in his career, as he should be. Would he have liked things to happen differently for him in the Cubs this year? Yes. Did I want things to go differently for myself in the Cubs last year? 100%. But that wasn't the case, and we got to live with it. We got to move on, and I know Jay Hay will do that. He deserves to, if he decides to retire and sail off into the sunset, he had a phenomenal career, and he should be happy with everything that he accomplished throughout his career. He should be even more happy with the things that he did for other players and other people that he was able to be around during his career.
So he's a guy you could go to, tough shit. Like he's a guy he would invite that from teammates, or like, hey, if you ever need anything, let me know.
Jay had some of the best feel of any guy I was ever around in terms of, regardless of his struggles and how he was performing, he was always willing to be there for other players, and he had struggles last year, but he was always there for you, and he was always there early, doing early work and trying to get better and doing things to help the team. And that's something that isn't always a part of players' character or routine when things aren't going well. It's easy to say, I'm playing like shit, so I'm gonna complain, I'm gonna pout, I'm gonna sulk about this, and woe's me, and why me, whatever. He's never done that, ever, not once. He's never complained. He's always been there for anybody in need. So, like I said, I hate to see it. It's frustrating, but he'll always be remembered for what he was able to accomplish and how he was able to help the organization while he was there, and not just the Cubs. I mean, Atlanta, St. Louis. I mean, this guy was a great player. The guy was a great player, and we're not all fortunate enough to go out, with a 300 season and 30 or 40 home runs in a World Series. But that's the game. That's the game, man. And Jay Hay will be fine. I mean, he's going to live an amazing rest of his life and have beautiful kids and a beautiful wife, and that's that.
Cool story too for like a guy who grew up in the Georgia area. One of my favorite inside baseball stories is how the Braves have been scouting him relentlessly since he was a young player, and then went out of their way to hide the fact that they were scouting him and kept him under wraps from other MLB scouts, because there's some connection there, a story where it's they saw him so young that anytime another MLB scout was in the area, it was an organizational thing where the Braves were like, hey, if anybody asks about players in the area, don't say anything about this Jason Heyward kid. And they had masked that. Bro, they hit it so long until draft day when they drafted him 14th overall. People had absolutely no idea. There were some teams that didn't even scout him or know him because the Braves had actively tampered with being able to go find him and stuff. Or they'd trash him. They'd say, hey, what's up with this Heyward kid? They'd say, he's terrible, long swing, all this stuff. The Braves take him in the first round. He becomes the number one prospect in baseball by all publications, instantly gets to the big leagues as 20. He's an all-star, finishes second in the Rookie of the Year, and then obviously the trajectory he's had from there. He's played 13 years in the big leagues. And like you said, it's cool actually for me as a fan to hear it from your side where you're like, yeah, dude, we all don't go out on top. It's just not – yeah, it is. That just is the way it is.
And you make peace with it. You come to terms with it. I almost didn't go back to play with San Diego. I had a hamstring, strain, and then I'm at home, and the kids are begging me to go pitch for the Padres, and Cooper always wanted me to play for them, and I kind of always wanted to have a shot to play for the Padres, and I love San Diego, and it just didn't work out. I had another hamstring strain, and it wasn't working out. So, but I'm at peace with it. It sucked, but I did everything I could. I gave it all I had. I wouldn't have changed anything. And that's that, man. But a cool Heyward story. We're in Myrtle Beach. We're playing against those guys, and Freddie Freeman and Heyward, they both hit a homer off the top of the home clubhouse in right field, and they're two titans of the minor leagues, and they're about to just be in the big leagues and just start to dominate. And they had Tommy Hanson, like, rest in peace, Tommy Hanson, and just Heyward was an incredible guy. And that story you just told about, guys, the Braves trying to hide him is crazy because it's like nowadays it would be impossible to hide a talent like that. One guy gets eyes on him, and it's over.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen him in person a couple times. I mean, obviously, you played with him for years, but just my own impressions of seeing him in person, he's one of those athletes you see for the first time, one of those guys, and it like physically lives up to like, I bet that guy is huge. I bet that guy looks great. I mean, he's got like a 34-inch waist, 35-inch waist on that body. Those shoulders looks like Adonis.
He's the Under Armour mannequin at Dick's Sports. Like he's an absolute unit. But you're right. He's one of those. He's one of those guys that you see on TV, right? And a lot of people will say, "Oh man, I didn't realize you were this big in person." But he's even bigger than me, height wise. Like he's a big leaguer. That's it. Just what you want a major league right fielder to look like.
Speaking of big leaguers, we're about to be joined by one of them. His name's Zac Gallen. He's the starting pitcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks. If you've made it this far in the show and you don't know who Zac Gallen is, I don't know whose fault that is. I would
take a
assume
look. He's a stud.
It's a cool interview because one thing I'm learning more is like the different personalities and stuff that go behind being a successful pitcher in the big leagues. And I had, for a long time, had just carried an expectation of like, it's like this, it's more of like an aggressive and a focus and this type of like bulldog mentality. And I am learning that actually there's guys like Zac Gallen, as we get to a part in the interview, he's just too chill. He's like literally the chillest, and I say the word because there's no other word to say. He's like the chillest guy. I didn't know you could be that chill.
Yeah, you're right. And I think you were also a little surprised that so many guys are like that, at least starting pitchers. And I told you that we are that way because if you're not, your demeanor's not like that, pitching once every 5 days, you'll kind of drive yourself nuts. And there are starting pitchers that aren't like that are more like bullpen guys that are, wound tight and just ready to explode at all times. But Zac Gallen is definitely one of those one of the more low key, low maintenance guys that you'll come across.
So let's get to Zac Gallen, but first I want to thank our friends at BetterHelp. Guys, it's tough to talk about, but we're going to talk about it because mental health is very important, and I don't care if that makes it uncomfortable to hear, but your mental health is extremely important. Yes, you, the guy I'm talking to right now, the gal I'm talking to right now, like, don't be afraid to take care of yourself. Don't be afraid to check out BetterHelp. How well would you take care of your car if you had to keep the same one your entire life? That's how our brains work, so why don't we treat them that way? How we care for our minds affects how we experience life. There are plenty of ways to support a healthy brain, like learning a new language or taking power naps, but there's also BetterHelp online therapy. Like I said, guys, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're missing out on a great advantage in life, and people go through, like the relatability in our struggles is there. And BetterHelp can help you guys. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. So this is quick action here, guys, with BetterHelp. And we're going to give you guys 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/starting. That's BetterHelp.com/starting. Go check it out, guys. 10% off. 10% off the first month. That's great stuff. Just go check out the link.
Well said, man. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Everybody needs somebody to talk to, and if you don't have somebody close to you in your corner that you feel comfortable enough to talk to, please reach out. It's worth it.
Let's get to Zac Gallen, and I echo those comments very much so. Let's get to Zac Gallen. All right, we're in the interview portion of today's show. We're joined by Arizona Diamondbacks starting pitcher Zac Gallen. And before we get into the season, your career, and the meat and potatoes, I'm really interested in this story of you kind of big league in T-ball when you were a kid. You were like, dude, I don't want to play T-ball. I'm too good for T-ball. Or Before we get going, Zach, I was just wondering. We talk a lot about youth baseball on this show, and I was curious if you could share with the audience your relationship with T-ball.
Yeah, so manyfold to the question. One, I wasn't a fan that it ended in a tie and everyone got the score. I was like, I need some decisions around here. But two, my dad coached, so like my dad coached the 7 to 9-year-old team, even when my brother and I weren't playing. So there was like an 8-year gap between my dad was just coaching kids that he had no relation to whatsoever. So it was just kind of in part with that. It was just like, all right, I don't want to play T-ball because it ends in a tie, and my dad coaches, so it doesn't make sense for me to have T-ball and him coach and just, But yeah, that was the big reason was I needed some wins and losses in there.
Yeah, and you had two older brothers that you saw play, and like you were a little more advanced than most. You're like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to get straight to like coach pitch or let's get it going.
Yeah, well, I only have one older brother. It's just my brother Jay.
Okay.
He's about almost 9 years older than me. So yeah, I mean, I grew up like playing with kids that were almost 9 years older than me. Like, and it was like you had to figure it out, and that's the only way you're gonna get to play. So yeah, I was like T-ball, like let's get it going. Let's get some kid pitch up in here. So yeah, that's kind of how it was.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. One of my best friend in Houston, his son, they started T-ball at like 3 years old, and so they let everybody hit. And like, there's no, even if everyone you get 9 guys out, they all hit, and it's just you get a Capri Sun at the end of the game, and I don't know, but I'm with you. I appreciate the more competitive aspect of it, because if you don't learn it now, you're gonna learn it pretty quick. So like let's there's a winner and a loser. That's how sports are.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, like, I was 5, so like my dad was just like, I'm gonna stick him in right field. Let me give him a uniform, whatever. But it was like I'm going up there to hit, and like I'd strike out and do everything like in a real game. And he let me cry the whole 5-year-old year. And then when it was 6, he was like, that's it. No more crying. Like, strike out. That's it. You get out, come back to the dugout. So it was quick. It was like, you got a year of like kind of getting a little, whatever. But yeah, it was like, no, that's it. We're done with that. So yeah, it was from an early age.
I'm glad he's like that. I'm that way with my kids. And unfortunately, my son's 10. There's kids that still cry on his team every once in a while. And I talked to Mark DeRosa a couple of days ago, and they still have a couple kids at 12 that are doing that. It's like, man, we got to cut that shit out. You can't be especially at 10, 11, 12, you can't be showing the other team that kind of stuff, because then they're just like, oh, we got them. These kids, they're crying. Like, what is that? Like, nope, can't be crying. And, we lost a kid. A kid thought his dad thought I was too hard on him. You got to go, man. Sorry. Like, one of our best players, but I'm going to be tough on everybody. I'm going to be tough on everybody, not just my son. And like sports are unlike anything else. And if you can't handle it, I mean, go play rec ball or, read a book, do something different,
Hey, I respect that. I mean, yeah, that's how, I mean, from a young age, it was like, nope, we're not doing the crying thing. That's not going to work. Yeah.
Now, what about Tori?
I'm glad they did it. Tori, he doesn't let me cry either. No, but Tori's cool. Tori's the man. I think we have a really good relationship, Tori and I. We can kind of talk about some stuff that, maybe a guy in my position might not be able to talk to him about. And that was from, really early on, from when I first got here, when I got traded. It was, hey, he saw very early that I like kind of could just handle some things a little bit differently. So I think that kind of rapport just started, super early, and that relationship's kind of just grown over the last, 3 to 4 years.
Man, and you've had an incredible start to your career. Just looking at your numbers, this is your 3rd full season, and obviously a shortened 2020, which that season sucked for everybody outside of the Dodgers. But
yeah.
You're on track. You're on a great track right now. A 3.1, 3.2 career ERA. Now, for you, did you have any roadblocks? Did you have any adversity, some struggles? And everyone does. But when you look at your numbers, like, man, this kid kind of came to the big leagues and kind of had it figured out right away. What was that the development process for you like in the minor leagues? Were there times where you struggled, an extended period of struggle, or were you just like, hey, I faced some adversity, I figured it out quickly, and I moved forward, and I'm better, having gone through those types of struggles?
Yeah, I'd say it was. I wouldn't say there was like one big time where it was, there was a, big adverse situation. But like, there's definitely points that came up where I'm like, all right, so get to pro ball, first full year, I go from high A to triple A, and I'm like, all right, this is cool. This is going way faster than I expected it to. But I do remember like that year in double A was just kind of like started to have to figure out a little bit, different ways to attack guys. There's a lot more stuff up in double A. And I had to learn how to pitch a little bit differently. Used to, college to high A, working on a breaking ball, just stuff like that. And then 18 got traded to the Marlins. Felt like I was having an okay year. Felt like I, was under the impression that I could, play in the big leagues that year. It was something I, at the time, thought I could do. But looking back, I probably really wasn't ready for it. So it was like, all right, I'm going to have to figure out other ways to, you kind of understand there's certain things that you need to do that show that, maybe if you're putting up good numbers, but there's, you know how it is. Like, you have to show other ways that you can actually survive up there and get guys out. And then last year, I think was, another big roadblock for me was just, injuries, maybe coming back too early, understanding the pressure that comes along with, having pretty good, year and a half to start, and then, maybe putting a little too much pressure on myself, stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's one big roadblock. There's just been, different mountains to climb at certain points in my career.
Absolutely, and it's different for everybody. But I respect how well you've done this early, because for me, it was like the opposite. It was a good game, 3 bad ones, a couple of good ones, then 4 in a row. It's like I thought I had this figured out, and I just keep getting my ass kicked. So, and I've seen you pitch a lot. We're slightly familiar with each other, and from afar, you don't look like a guy who's at that stage in his career. And it's just a testament to. And you're a college guy. You went to UNC, correct?
I did, yeah.
So in kind of all that, in my opinion, helps a player transform and transition a little bit quicker. And you see, and not that high school guys can't do it, but it tends to take them a little bit more time to get to that point where they're able to pitch at a high level on a consistent basis. And for you, and it's nothing against the Diamondbacks. Obviously, you guys are a team that's trying to build, struggling, and it's even harder to pitch well on a team like that. Has frustration ever kind of set in for you, knowing the way you're able to pitch and just not seeing the benefits of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of happened. I've kind of been used to that, honestly.
Yeah.
My family jokes around. I'm like the king of no decisions. I had no decisions going back to college. Whatever it is. But I mean, yes, I would say if it was something new, it would be frustrating. I think it was when I was in college. Because you want to have the wins. You want to Then I think I at least started to learn that maybe pitcher wins aren't like the stat that everyone cares about now. So it's like, all right, just have a good game, give your team a chance to win. That's really all you can ask for. It's tough, but yeah, I mean, I'd say if it was something new, I would be, maybe a little bit more frustrated with it, but that's one of the things is maturing, is just understanding that you getting a win yourself to put next to your name isn't, the big picture. It's like, if the team wins, all right, that's important. But, just mostly as your job selflessly is just keeping your team and, giving them a chance to win.
No doubt. I mean, you can't control wins and losses. You go out there and you try and give your team, at least, and I'm sure you're the same. I try to go out there and go 6, 7, 8 innings, and whatever the score was, it was. I wanted to pitch as deep into the game as I could, save the bullpen, and just be a guy that my team could rely on. And I know you're the same way. And I'm with you. The win category. And Carl, what do you think? I mean, it's kind of a stat that's 300 wins is amazing. No, I don't know if anybody ever gets that again.
Never.
But it's kind of going. I mean, they're great if you have them, and then guys like, well, that's not that big of a deal when you don't have wins. So I don't know.
Well, the one guy that you got traded with for Marcell Ozuna, Sandy Alcantara, just absolutely crazy. You and him were together in the Cardinals minor league system together. Like, I think the more a guy like him and a guy like yourself and, a guy like Dylan Cease, and you start to see some of these younger real studs emerge and stuff that can kind of motivate the next level. Like, you could see the trend come back to where it's like, man, it's so valuable when a guy can go pitch into the 7th, 8th inning. I hate to rule stats out, but the pitchers win. I mean, it's all but – it is all but dead. I'm curious, so, like, how does that, I guess, from your competitive standpoint, like, how do you maintain or where do you channel your competitiveness on the mound then? Is it just like pitch to pitch? Do you go to a dark place to get mean against hitters, or is it more just like totally about you? And honestly, if you want to take this to your style, because I've noticed like your hair and everything with the glasses and stuff, like, do you have that? Do you have like an image or a brand that you want to project to hitters, or is it much more simple to you?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty mellow for the most part. I've kind of gotten to that point where at first it was, it was so new, and it's like, all right, I need to like slow the heart rate down, get everything as chill as possible. Like I don't want as, distractions. And now I'm starting to like trying to have to go to a different spot and get some different motivation. So I changed up my pregame playlist the other day.
No,
all right.
First time in 4 years.
No, I wouldn't say that, but it's one of the few times that I've been like, all right, I'm gonna have to go on a different avenue. Like I need to switch something up. Like it's like I'm getting too mellow, I'm getting too chill, and it's like I need to get the heart rate going because I'm already a low heart rate guy. Like when we do like the physicals, they're like it's low, so I'm like I gotta get it going somehow. So yeah, I'm like I gotta switch it up. Let's do something different here. But yeah, no, I'm pretty chill for the most part. I kind of just like I said, keep it as mellow as possible. I like to go out there under control. Rarely have I ever pitched in a game where I'm out of control emotionally, and it's not fun. It's not fun for me. I'd rather be able to keep my wits about me while I'm out there.
Do you find it more difficult to get yourself to that place, kind of hyped up, more difficult day games or night games, or does it depend on how you slept before? Because for me, there would be games where obviously I was ready to pitch and I was prepared. But for some reason, that energy level just wasn't as quite as high as I wanted it to be. Are there, if that's the case, if you ever have those, which I'm sure you do, are there things that you'll do? Like, will you get on the bike and try and increase the heart rate? Or you drink a few cups of coffee? Like, is there something that kind of works for you to get to that spot?
Yeah. So for me, day games were tough. It was, it didn't matter if I slept 12 hours. I could have went to bed at 7 o'clock the night before and like got 12 hours of sleep. I'd still get up and my brain would be like, what are we doing? We're exerting this much physical energy at this early in the morning.
Too early.
Yeah. So I've honestly just tried to pick the brains of guys that have, been around doing it a while, guys that have, been around other guys that have had success and just been like, hey, what do they do? So it's more so just adding to the routine, really. It's like, all right, I'm going to get up. Like, even if it's 6 hours of sleep, I want to get up early. That way my heart, my brain, everything's up. It's ready to go. I'm not kind of walking in there sleepy. Maybe riding the bike a little bit extra. I know some guys, tend to dunk in the cold tub to kind of get everything going. I haven't gone that far yet, but like I know some guys do it. So yeah, it's just kind of like, I think it's more for me right now. It's mentally. It's like, all right, let's get up. Let's get it going. Let's not worry that it's a day game. Night games are so much easier. You got the whole day. You can kind of just, do what you got to do. But those day games, it's like, all right, you're up and let's get it rolling.
How are your nerves before games? Because it didn't matter at what point in my career it was. I had butterflies all day. And it's not that I was nervous to pitch. It was just like, it was like an energy. Like I'm looking forward to it. So sometimes day games, and I'm with you. I had to get up super early. I was always the first one at the field on the day that I pitched. But, night game, it's like, all right, like I'm thinking about it at 10 o'clock when I get up. And then I'm trying to have a small lunch and I'm thinking about the game again. And 2, 3, 4 o'clock rolls around. It's like I felt like sometimes I burned too much like mental energy thinking about the game. Does that ever happen for you?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. It's funny, we were talking about it. I guess it's been a couple months now, but getting those like the butterflies maybe like 2 days before the start. It's like, all right, I'm rewatching, I'm sitting in the dugout. It's like, all right, I'm pitching again. So you threw your side, maybe you're sitting there like, all right, cool, I got to face these guys, in 24 hours, whatever it is. Yeah, I would say it's more or less. Sometimes the butterflies are there, and you're like, all right, cool. Like I'm ready to go. Let's get this rolling. And then sometimes it's like, all right, I got to go find butterflies. Really, is what it comes down to. Yeah. So it's that's another thing that I've kind of I don't know about you as your career went on, but like I'm noticing more so that they get a little bit lighter, and it's like, all right, I got to go find some more somewhere. Like I got to do something, whatever it is.
That's true. That's true. But I tell Cooper this. I say butterflies or nerves. It means that you care. So,
Yeah.
but you're right. Sometimes you have to find them, especially as the season would linger on. And when I was on teams that weren't having as much success, it's kind of hard to get yourself to that same place. But I always felt like once an hour before the game hit, it's like my juices are flowing so quickly that like it didn't really matter how I felt before. Usually when the game would start, they were there. But you're right. There are times where, it's storming. Am I even gonna pitch? There's rain delays. So there's so many variables. And I felt like you were the king of no decisions. I was the king of rain delays. What do you like to do during rain delays? And does it piss you off when a manager will you're not sure if he's going to let you go because the rain delays lasted 30, 40 minutes? What do you do during that period of time?
I've only had one rain delay that I
Oh
was
yeah,
actually
in
yeah,
out
because
west you don't have many.
no, yeah, we got the roof, so that's perfect. So when my mom loves it. She's like this, the schedule never gets messed up with rain. I know you're gonna pitch every time, like whatever. So I've had one rain delay while I was actually pitching. I had another one when we played in Colorado. It was before the game, so like wasn't I just kind of shut it down a little bit and just started to think back up. But the one rain delay I had was in DC. It was like my third start in the big leagues, and I was like begging to go back out. Like Donnie wouldn't. It was like an hour and a half. I was like, "Come on!" Like
Yeah,
I have
no,
like
yeah. Third
it.
start, hour and a half, you're gone.
I'm like, yeah, and it was bad because that was the first time I pitched on the East Coast, so it was like 3 hours from my house. I had like 50 people there, and I felt bad. They drove like 3 hours, and I threw like 2 innings. So yeah, I was like, but they were like, all right, if it's under, I think they said if it was under an hour or 50 minutes, they're like, we'll let you go back out. They're like, but anything over that, like we got to shut it down. And it was like an hour and 15, hour and 30. So yeah, shut it
It's
down.
brutal. It's brutal. Cincinnati rained all the time. DC always rained. Baltimore, yeah. So I was hit with it all the time. So it's tough. We had this conversation with Charlie Blackman maybe 2 weeks ago about pitching in Colorado. How do you approach Colorado? What are your thoughts on it? And do you like pitching there? Or is it something like you just would rather miss that start?
Yeah, it's funny to say. I don't want to say it because I don't want to jinx it, but like I feel like I've had pretty decent success in Colorado, and I'm wondering if that's because I go in there with a like little sense of urgency because I know that I got to be a little bit sharper there and kind of got to you can't get lazy. When you play at sea level, the pitches tend to break a little bit more. You can kind of get away with some things, but up there it's like everything's got to be crisp. So I don't mind pitching up there. I think my stuff actually plays a little bit differently. I think the ball tends to cut a little bit, and then my breaking balls get a little bit sharper, a little bit shorter. But yeah, so I would much rather miss going there just because of the recovery standpoint. Just it's tough on your body, but from a pitching standpoint and stuff standpoint, I really don't mind it because I mean we play at elevation here. It's probably about half of the elevation up there, so I think you kind of get a little bit of you can kind of it's a little bit the same, but yeah, I don't mind it really.
You talk about your stuff real quick. Like, what are you, and like you talk about the curveball, like getting a little shorter there. Just generally speaking, like, what are you working on right now at this point in the season? If there's something that you're trying to get better in between starts.
Yeah, we joke around. I'm a tinkerer, so like I'm working on something always, and it could be a blessing, could be a curse. Trying to add weapons, trying to manipulate the ball, just trying to do all kinds of stuff. At this point in time, just trying to take some velo off my changeup. It was getting a little hard. I don't know if that's from trying to, manipulate it, whatever it was, but I think it was getting a little bit too, the differential between my fastball and my changeup was shrinking, by the start. So just trying to take some velo off of that, I think has been the biggest thing, the last week or two. And then just trying to get my cutter slider back, where it was, a couple years ago. Just trying to get that similar results.
Now, talk to us a little bit about that. Let's go to your changeup. Now, What do you attribute that to? Is it you think you have a little bit too much of your hand behind the ball where it's coming out a little too firm? Is there anything that you changed to lead to that increase in velocity, or
Yeah,
can you pinpoint it?
I would say it's probably a combination of things. I think one of the things when I picked up the changeup again in 18, somebody told me, they were like, "Listen, you can never throw the changeup too hard." And I think I took that to heart. I think they were more so being like, "Hey, it's not like let's keep everything the same." Essentially, I think is what they were getting at. And I was just like me trying to fix it and get it back to where it was. I wanted to throw hard. I wanted to make sure that everything looked the same. I think I lost the fact that it's a feel pitch for me, and it's always kind of been like that. It's been it's not necessarily a mechanical pitch, a delivery pitch. It's all about feel. So for me, it's just kind of, like you said, I think the ball was getting a little deep in my hand. I think Strami had said that. Because we had just been talking, over the months, just how do I take velo off, just different things. And he was like, let me see your grip. Talked about it. He's like, I think it's a little deep in your hand. And as he was talking about it, I started, playing around with the ball again. And I think he was honestly right. And then it just kind of turned into like, all right, let's maybe turn this more into a field pitch, not necessarily a power pitch. So.
Well, so I heard this from guys that played before me, and they always told me with the changeup, they wanted to kill their backside, like not be as heavy off the backside. I didn't like that. I wanted to use the same exact effort. I just basically spaced my middle finger and ring finger out a little bit further, offset the ball kind of as far as I could, like towards my pinky, and threw it with the same arm speed, and it just came out slower. I didn't like to change anything mechanically or effort in my delivery. Is there anything that you do differently in your delivery, or is it just same effort, same arm speed, and allow the grip and the hand position to work?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think I get what they're saying about killing the backside. I wouldn't want to think about something like that either. Ironically, for me, I think thinking about throwing it slower is probably the most simple way I could think about it. But more advanced way is like just trying to throw it later. I think has been the biggest thing for me, is basically trying to let my arm get out there as late as possible and then just turn it over. I think I started throwing it harder earlier, I guess, before. And I think now it's just like, all right, let me see how long I can let my arm, almost like a kinetic chain whip, just be like, all right, right at the end, my hand's just going to flick.
Were you noticing just more, hard contact, or you weren't missing as many barrels or not as many swings and misses?
Yeah, it was a combination of both. I was getting some ugly swing and misses on just if it's sequenced right, but I was getting a lot of pitches that I thought were good pitches, and location wise they were fine, and guys were still just having enough time that the speed difference. I think they were just able still to get the barrel on it, be able to foul it off. So yeah, just the swing and miss, just the swings I was getting from the hitters was kind of telling me, all right, this pitch is something with this pitch isn't as effective as it once was. So we got to go back to the lab and figure out what's going on here.
And then like when you're making these, I guess you say you're a tinker. Is it really you on your own? Do you have a good relationship with maybe a catcher or coach or something, or kind of like how do the Diamondbacks support? Whether it's like with data or like video, or kind of like what's that relationship like as you're trying to get better at this point?
It's been good. They kind of let me do my own thing in the sense that like they know I'm always in search of trying to perfect everything I got. So I don't think they necessarily worry about me trying to put the work in there. I think more so they try and tell me to maybe rein it back in sometimes, and maybe not go searching for some things that maybe are totally unnecessary. But yeah, it's kind of how I've been since college. I had a pitching coach there that was like, hey, listen, your best attribute is you're going to move up is being your best pitching coach. Like you're going to be the only one that's going to stick with you every year. Like, yeah, you'll maybe get lucky, once you get to the big leagues and you'll be able to be there with a guy for, X amount of years. He's like, but through the minor leagues, you're going to be switching. So for me, it was just kind of like, all right, I really need to be in tune with what makes me successful, how I do these certain things. So that's just kind of how I've always been. And then just, I think as I moved up was just being more vocal about it. So that way I had other people to be able to look out for it and be like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. These are the cues. And then, that way they could, if they see something, be able to point it out, and, just the vocabulary that works.
Yeah. And we were talking before, so like we were just talking quick before, you were saying you were coming in early, grabbing some lunch. I'm like away from the field. You seem so like, am I just gonna see you at Red Rocks listening to like Fish concerts and stuff? Or like, what do you do away from the field?
That's funny you said that. My girlfriend and I, we actually just saw OAR at San Diego State.
That's a good one.
Yeah, we were there. We played the Padres. All-Star break was over, and we were staying an extra night. So I'm like, OAR's in town. Like, they're one of my favorites, if not my favorite band. And I'm like, let's go see them. So we went and saw them. And I wound up snagging tickets like last minute. And we were like third row, like 3 rows off the front. And it was, yeah, we had a good time.
You got a favorite time. OAR song?
Man, there's a lot.
I mean, their poker song is
Crazy Game
phenomenal.
of Poker is good.
It's pretty phenomenal.
City on Down's a good one. This town I remember because they would play Omaha like every year, and I was like, I want to go to Omaha to see OAR. Like, I want to go and play at Omaha, but like I want to see them play and see them do this town. So that's one that's kind of like some. No, we never went. We
didn't either.
Struggled. We struggled when I was there.
Then my college coach would play the song called Omaha by Counting Crows every practice. So it's like, fuck, man, we better get to Omaha. Like
we gotta go.
We missed it both of my years, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, we missed it when I was there, and it was tough, especially like, I mean, that year, they went on a run in like 06 to 09. It was like they went every year. And I'm like, oh, sick. You go to Carolina, like you pretty much just go. It's like 7 other teams got to figure it out, and then you get there, and you're like, damn, this is hard. Actually, it's tough to get there.
Yeah, you guys had some basketball. Didn't you win a national championship though? Is that like your junior year or something?
So we lost the national championship my junior year, and then my senior year they won the national championship. I remember watching it. It was like you could hear a pin drop like on campus when what was his name? Chris something. I forget what it is, from Villanova. He hit that shot. It was like I've never seen so many people depressed walk home from like the bars, like the main street. That was a tough night to be a Tar Heel fan.
Yeah, you guys bounced back strong though.
They did.
I gotta ask you, man, what's it like playing with Madison Bumgarner? Did you like do guys walk on eggshells around him, or like the young dudes?
I think at first, yeah. I think I mean, granted, we got bummed in 20. I had 100 days of service time, so I'm kind of like you know, how does this go around here? Yeah. So and I think at first he tried to maybe do a little rookie hazing, like just, you know, see what I was made of type of deal.
Yep.
That's just not me. It's, you know, I think that's a product of growing up with a brother that's about 9 years older than you and his friends. So it's like you learn to take a lot of junk. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, listen, man, you're gonna have to find another avenue. But no, the more and more it's gone on, Bum has gotten a lot more personable. It's just a big kid in there. He's great. He's always, you know, he's got some dry humor or some jokes in there that you kind of just like, where'd that come from? Like your head will snap. But yeah, no, Bum's been good just to be able to pick his brain with certain things on, you know, just, I mean, he's been around, he's seen a lot, he's done a lot, he's accomplished a lot. So yeah, it's been cool.
I've got to assume that he's talked to you about hunting at least a little bit.
No hunting, but more
Not
like
yet?
the roping. Like,
okay.
I got him last year. I forget how we were talking about it, but he went into a whole like 10-minute breakdown. I was like, all right, this is what you try to do. This is and then like gave me the whole thing. So then I've seen it on TV and been like, all right, I actually know what's going on here. When I saw like the cattle or whatever the roping channel was on, I'm like, all right, I actually can like follow along here.
Yeah, you get it. Well, this guy's nuts, man. He was telling me a story about him hunting mountain lions with dogs. I'm like, I've never heard of such a thing, but I kind of want to do it with him. So I'm going to get in touch with him, and because he's in Tennessee, right?
He's in North Carolina. All
right, so
yeah.
Dude, ask him about hunting mountain lions with dogs. That's just
I think I'm almost positive he's told that story. Maybe not to me. He might have had been holding court in the locker room and was talking about it. So I'll have to have him refresh my memory.
Yeah,
today.
for sure.
You guys ever argue about the DH? I know he probably misses it. I know you hate it. Or what is it?
Yeah, he. I remember last year.
That boy loved to hit.
He loved it. I mean, he could put on a show on BP. I remember last year because I had broken my elbow from hitting in the cage, which is one of my finest athletic, you know, whatever. But yeah, I just was like, hey, they don't pay us to hit. That was my whole thing. It was like, they don't pay us to hit. So if I go 4 home runs, it's not going to matter. And he wasn't too fond of me saying that because he likes to hit. So, but yeah, it's I think now he seems, you know, he's like, whatever, it is what it is. But I think last year he was definitely.
Well, he's old now. Like when my last couple of years, I didn't really want to hit. You know what I mean? Like when you're young and you're flying around, cool. It's fun. But then like the last two, I'm like, no, I'll put the bat down, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I remember when you first started hitting like double A, triple A, my dad be like, "Swing the bat. What are you doing? Like swing the." I'm like, "Dad, like it's New Orleans,
You
105
get in here
degrees
and
here.
you try and hit, Dad.
Like you hit, Dad. Then I got to go pitch 7 innings too, and you want me to run around the." I'm like, "Come on now, we're being smart here with energy." So yeah, so it took him a little while to figure that out, but yeah, so I know how you feel.
Oh, man. That's great shit, dude. Zach, thanks so much for giving us time. Especially, we should note this is before game. Close friend of the program. Are you going to grow the hair back out? Was that just like a little COVID delicacy, or what are we getting here?
Yeah, so from I've seen some pictures of last year, and on more than one occasion, family members have been like, "You guys let me walk around with this?" And they're like, "Yeah, we tried to tell you." And I'm like, "But nobody told me like that intently." So I'm honestly trending towards trimming it every time. Like I'm taking more and more off every time I get a haircut. So I don't know. I'm attached to it, but it gets to be a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Now, so you put it in a headband, like when you're not wearing a hat, or you just let it, like what's your skit with the hair?
And do you mind showing the viewers that are watching on YouTube?
It
looks amazing.
It's not very good, but it's yeah.
Not very good.
Yeah, it's
Carl. Can you
this
believe
is some
this
bad
guy?
head.
He's saying that's not very good.
I got some bad head today. So
I would love to have it.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I guess they're just privileged to see you with hair like that all the time.
Yeah.
So.
It's a blessing and a curse, I guess. But I was a headband guy. Now I'm kind of just a hat guy at the field, just because I don't know. I'm switching it up. Yeah. Hey, I got to mention. I left. The Billy Rouse story you guys told, not too long ago.
Billy Rouse, yep. He took a shit in center field. They wouldn't let, but hey, they called his bluff. They called his bluff. Everybody thought he was just taking it to the house to go eat like a ham sandwich.
I went to the same high school as Billy Rouse, so I know this. Yeah.
So you get it.
I knew this story. He played with my brother. He's a year younger than my brother. They won a state championship together.
Yeah.
I had one of my brother's friends send me the clip, and he was like, "You gotta listen to this." And I'm like, "All right, what is it?" So and then I hear it, and I'm like, "No way. Yeah. And I know the dude who called in too. Like I'm pretty sure he went to my high school too. And I'm like, "Dude, no way. This is great." So I sent it to all my buddies. So I'm like, "Yeah, I was dying."
And man, hey, funny story. I thought Billy was gonna be like an absolute superstar. He just, he didn't put in the work, but not everybody does.
As like what my brother's 17 at that time, so like 8-9-year-old kid, I'm like, this guy's the greatest player I've ever seen. Like I saw him hit a ball at our high school over 6 lanes of traffic off the furniture store window, and I was like, that like stuff like superhuman. Like
legendary stuff.
Yeah, like still to this day talk about it. So yeah, it's it's a shame, but
it's good shit. Yeah.
Oh man, it's funny how the game brings us together
how's
that. Yeah.
You and I know Richie Schmock, good friend of ours, mutual friend.
Yep.
You've been playing some golf with him there in AZ?
I did. We went up to Flagstaff not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. It was
and he was. Yeah, I think you went another time, and he was trying to get me to go. I couldn't make it. How is that place? I know it's got to be awesome.
It's worth it. It's if you come into town, it's worth it. Like every time Richie's like, all right, he's like, come up. I'm like, damn. I'm like, all right, it's like a 2-hour drive. Like, I'm like, fuck it, whatever. All right, I'll just go. Yeah, and then I get up there. I'm pissed. I'm driving up there, and then I get up there and play. And I'm like, all right, I'm glad I went. And then I got to drive back home, and I'm pissed for another 2 hours.
It's like 20 degrees cooler up there, isn't it?
Wait, I wish it was an hour closer. I told him I was like, I would join there if it was an hour closer. I would spend 30-degree cooler. Yeah, sign me up for that one.
All right. Well, next time you guys get an off day, I'll look at the schedule. I'll talk to Richie, and we'll get some golf in.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for being with us. We really appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was fun.
So there's Zac Gallen. I will say the thing I enjoy most about a player like him is that him growing up close to a baseball field absolutely accelerated and enabled him to be as good as he is, and growing up in a family that had baseball and the dad's a coach and all that stuff. And you look at a guy who's 6'1", 180 pounds, who can blend into a crowd of people, but then you put him on a mound athletically and he stands out. He's one of like the best pitchers in the National League. And it's so cool to me because there's just this part of me that's like, man, it could have been like And not to diminish Zac Gallen, but there's some relatability there where it's like, dude, that's just so cool, that Jersey kid growing up next to a ballpark. And I looked it up, and it's like pretty, it's just cool. It's something about the sport, right? So
yeah, and I mean he's 4+ years into his career. He's already been top 10 in the Cy Young voting. He's off to a really nice start, and watching him pitch for a couple years, this guy's got great stuff. Obviously, the team he's on, I mean, they're not a great team, but he's one of the pieces you want to build a team around. So he's young, he's got great stuff, he's got multiple weapons, and he's a decent golfer. He wears the rec specs, which throws me off a little bit. But he's got beautiful hair, which I hope he doesn't cut for a while. But he's got a nice face. Good kid.
I think that Zac Gallen now for me is a guy I'll be following, and my interest is to see if he will ever. And I'm not saying I want him to. I'm saying I find it incredible that he quite literally is like never had a bad season. Like that would, if he goes his whole career, and I mean I'm saying little league to high school, college, at every level he has excelled, including his debut into the big league. So thank you again, Zach, and guys like him are what will help the Diamondbacks get competitive in the National League West, which seems like just such a daunting thing to think about, which is a good transition as we kind of package up the show here. I want to just like you look at the standings, and it is kind of sad to see not sad, but the Padres did not see this coming.
It's unfortunate. With the Padres, yeah. I mean, the series with the Dodgers, I mean, that didn't go very well.
No, and the
offense, they're riding high.
Tough.
They're riding high. What was it? It was a 23 inning scoreless streak at one point. Look, and I still like the Padres. I believe that Fernando Tatis Jr. will be back in that lineup in a couple days or a day, and that'll be like making a trade for him, having been without him all season. So that'll give him a boost. But still, I mean, the Dodgers they're the big dick in that division. Everybody knows it, and it might not even happen for teams like the Rockies and the Diamondbacks until this group of players is gone. But the Dodgers are so good at drafting, and they'll spend the money, and they develop. So I don't know what the other teams in that division just they're in trouble. I mean, you're right, they're in trouble. We love Zac Gallen, but it's tough. I mean, I would love a lot of those guys. Love Charlie Blackmon. Love a lot of the guys in the Padres. Mm-hmm. But man, when you're just looking up at the Dodgers, the way that these teams are, hang with them.
You got your work cut out. Yeah, like they got their work cut out for them. Like that's
no doubt about it.
I am super excited that we are this deep into the season, and we have a solid 3-horse race again. Last year, the National League West gave us a good 3-horse race for majority of the season, and the AL Central, the Guardians just took control of first place. The White Sox are a game and a half back. The Twins are tied at first. It's a 3-horse race to me is special and different because the fact that like you need both teams to fall apart, you're just cheering against teams, you're cheering for your team. The action's just so hot and ripe, and I know that in Chicago right now, people with the White Sox are freaking out. So
you are looking at the standings every night at this point in the season, and kind of pre-All-Star break, you're probably not looking at much of that. But when it's this close, August 10th, you're starting to look because, if a team goes 0-5, if they lose 5 straight and you win 3 of 5, like that's starting to separate shit quite a bit. And the momentum will start to build if a team can kind of jump out ahead. But you're right, man. This American League Central it's fun to watch. And we were kind of waiting for the White Sox and Cleveland to make a move, to pick it up, to do something. Now they are, and I love it. I kind of hope it comes down to the very end because that's just playing 162 games and teams are this close. That's why baseball is so great.
Yeah, like the fact that it all in those little moments, and I mean it it really starts long before spring training, right? Picking up the weights, and especially if you've had years before where you thought hey, this is a good team, this is a good club, and you fall short. I can't imagine the amount of pressure that comes down to it. How do guys like just compartmentalize it, or is it the competition just so fast and in the moment you're not really thinking about that stuff?
You're paying attention to what's going on with the other teams, especially in your division. You're paying attention to it. It doesn't mean that you're not preparing to win that night's game against whoever you're playing, but you're human. You're going to take a look. You're either going to check the standings on the sheets that are around the clubhouse, or you're going to be watching SportsCenter or MLB Network. It's human nature. And whether you like it or not, those TVs are always on. And for whatever reason, they're always on the network or always on SportsCenter. It might be a good idea to shut some of them off, but you're going to see it one way or another on Instagram or on TikTok or Twitter. It's always in your face now. There's no avoiding it. So don't let the nerves kind of get to you and make you tuck your tail in between your legs and get scared about it. Go out there and just compete and see what happens, because that's the only way you can approach it. But you're right about this starts, and it almost starts when the season ends, when the previous season ends. It's like, okay, we're talking about predictions right away. Guys might go on a vacation for a week, 2 weeks. You come back, hey, it's time to grind again.
Speaking of grinding, Chris Sale out for the season, fell off a bicycle, broke his wrist. You rode a lot of scooters in Chicago. I didn't know it at the time. In hindsight, it makes me nervous. So
yeah, Chris Sale he's really close with one of my really good friends, and we got this group of guys. Like, we all, whether we know each other personally or not, we still feel connected. I hate to see it for Chris Sale, because he's dealt with a bunch of injuries, and when he's on the field healthy, he's one of the best in the game. I don't know the situation really with what happened. I heard he was on a bike or a scooter. I don't know. It sucks for him, because I know he wants to be out there. I know he's getting a lot of shit for it. I saw the meme where they posted his face on. Was it on? I think it was on Starting Nine, where they posted his face on Joe Biden on the bike. Which, he's not going to like it. It is a little bit funny. But yeah, sucks. So I thought he broke it from when he was beating the shit out of the TV or tearing stuff off the wall in his rehab start. That's what I thought.
I'm happy you said it, because I'm Johnny Speculate over here, and I just hear that like he fell off a bike. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. But
I'll take his.
People do. And I fell off a scooter in Los Angeles on my way to the red carpet, bled all over Joe Musgrove. Now that it's passed, I was so embarrassed. I'm looking at the blood. I'm like, Jake's not going to like this. Jake's not going to like this at all. I mean, it hurt and everything, but I just knew I would have to explain myself. And I know the type of guy you are. We want to put on a good show, and we want to be tight and everything. And it's like, you're like going to meet guys that you've played with and have been on the other side of the rope with. I'm standing there as your wingman. You're introducing me, and it's just like, who's this bloody weirdo bald guy in the bowling jersey? It's like, oh yeah, that guy's with me.
I felt bad for you. I was a tick embarrassed, but I had sympathy for you. I did feel bad, because you were ultimately like running. You were doing a favor for both of us. You were running an errand. And look, on those scooters with the little tiny wheels that are ridden by who knows how many people from all walks of life, treat them like shit. You just can't take one of your hands off the handlebars and reach across. It just sets off the equilibrium, the balance, and you pay the price. Pay the price.
I'm with Chris Sale. I'm with him in unity on these injuries, and my wrist is still a little hingy. Okay, so I'll be at the Field of Dreams game tonight. If you're listening to this and you'll be out there, come find me. Let's take a picture, hang out, and then we have some cool playoff stuff we're working on. I think that's cool. I'm excited for the postseason. And
it's right around the corner.
So I should give you a heads up. The month of, once football season starts, everything kind of changes in the content world. Like, that's really our opening season. Like, not to take away the summertime and all that stuff, but that's when people are really back on the grind and, like, you're into sports mode. So just September, it's like the first day of school almost. Like we're on a school clock. Like when kids go back to school, then you're like, okay, this is big. The football games, you know.
Yeah, I'm more excited about football season than I ever have been, honestly, because he started tackle. Well, it's his second year, but practice has started, and just seeing the kids going through practice and the 50% contact and then the 100% contact, and Coach Keith, one of the coaches on the team, he's a beautiful, beautiful human being. Kids are not moving at the speed that we want them to. They're a couple of them are a little hesitant for contact, and Coach Keith he just keeps going, I want you to try and cut this guy in half. I want you to try and cut him in half. I want you to hit him, wrap cheek to cheek, and take him to the ground, like intense, yelling at these kids. I'm like, thank you for doing it so I didn't have to, because I'm tired of being the only guy that will yell at these kids. So if you're young and you're listening, look, we're not trying to hurt the kids, but you have to tackle with the appropriate form and technique. And if you do that, you'll be fine. That's why you're wearing pads. That's why you're wearing pads. Try and cut the kid in half, lay him on the ground, and get up and do it again.
Well said. And well said. Good form tackle. I didn't realize when I was a kid and coaches would yell at me, I would just be like, this guy's an asshole. Or I'd be like, oh, man, this guy's mean, all this stuff. But now that I'm older and I'm getting towards the age where, like, I would be the guy holding the whistle and stuff, this guy's just coming in there, mortgage payments, whiny kids, leaving the job at 2:30 so they can get to the school by 3 so they can line the field at 3:30 while you're fucking around in the locker room. Like, those guys are ready to pop. Those guys are coming in there with, with heavy stuff. Shout out to all high school coaches.
Yeah, football's different. We lost a kid, as you know, on the team because he's a little soft. Dad's a little soft. I know he's going to listen to this because he eavesdrops and he just can't stay away. He can't avoid the fucking podcast. You know what? Well, fuck him. Whatever. So, but you got to yell at kids and have a little bit more intensity in football because it's an intense game. It's a violent game. It's a violent game that you play safely. But some kids, some parents can't handle that in baseball, so you got to pat them on the ass and tell them they're the best on the team. But no, football's a little different. All right, you got to get in there. You got to make a statement. The job title or the job has to be done a certain way in football, and if you don't, kids will get hurt. So that's our mission, is to get these kids to play with intensity, with a little bit of violence, in a safe way, so nobody gets hurt. If any of that makes sense.
No, I mean it's a perfect cocktail for youth sports.
Yeah.
What else? I'm feeling good about life.
It's good. It's good.
I'm just feeling good, man. It's been a good summer, and it started. It was like 66 degrees this morning. Just a slight little breeze in the air. I'm smelling the fall leaves. I'm very happy with how things are shaping up.
It's close for you. It's going to be under 90 degrees or under 92 degrees next week, or it's supposed to. So that's like, I might put a hoodie on. You don't know. Can't wait for that. But yeah, I'm excited too. I'm happy you're going to the game tonight. We'll connect. Maybe FaceTime me, and I want to see a little bit of action. That'll be fun. I'm sorry I can't be there.
No, dude. I was saying earlier in the green, for you to get to this game, it was like, oh, is Jake? Do you want Jake to come with? Like, I don't know. It's like travel from you. It would take you like 10 hours from the time you left your house to get to Dyersville, Indiana.
Yeah, and I think Millar.
Iowa. What am I doing? I'm going the opposite way. Jeez Louise.
So I think Millar flew and then drove, but I want to say like last year he took his RV or something. He drove from Austin up there, which is such a bold strategy, in like a 1988. I don't even know what it's called, but it's old school. I think his windshield fell out once. So it's a bold move. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work, but. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's so much going on. I got to go to this knickknacks place and pick out some stuff for the house, which I do not want to go, but things you do for your wife,
Amen, brother. Good luck with that, knickknacks. That sounds fun. Although knowing you, once you get in there, you're gonna be dialed into knickknacks. Like if you show up on next week and you're like, all right, dude, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but like I'm really into knickknacks, I will not be surprised.
I like knickknacks, little things, but look at this. Hang on. Oh shit! Don't drop it. So we got this on the desk. Would this be considered a knickknack?
No, dude, that's fancy
kinda
high-end
sick.
decor.
It's kind of sick.
Yeah, I mean that's really nice stuff.
I mean,
Like knickknack, I feel like
is it for a cocktail? Dude, the hand is heavy. I mean, it's legit.
was that brass?
I don't know. It's probably not very expensive. It just feels expensive.
Yeah. It's a that's not a knickknack. All right, everybody, subscribe to the show. Tell a friend about it.
Yeah, appreciate you guys listening. Like and subscribe, like Carl always mentions. I lack in that area. I apologize, but yeah, it's a fun show, and we're glad you guys like it. And keep joining us. Keep joining us. We're gonna have a great week, and postseason's right around the corner. I'm just so fired up for that.
We get to watch our first World Series. Yeah, it's gonna be great. The streams and all that stuff, man. I'm almost okay. I'm really dragging out the outro on this, buddy. Great show. You have yourself a wonderful Thursday, and I will talk to you tonight from the cornfields. Okay.
Sounds good. Drive safe.